Hey everyone, it's pronounced Vag and I'm Adam and Dizzy. This is my windshield. I got it replaced today after being cracked for about 8 months after I bought the car. So I'm gonna give you a few tips about how to have somebody else do it. Stay tuned for some tips and tricks that I learned from a pro about replacing a windshield on a Golf R. I got some tips from the mobile tech that installed it. His name is Mark with Leading Edge Auto Glass. So if you're in the Seattle area, you should definitely contact him. I'll have his contact information here. Maybe I'll put his business card here. I don't know. So, gonna get into some of the information that I learned during this process. I bought the car in October of 2019, and it is currently June 2020. Some math there. What is that, 8 months? I've had the car 8 months. I bought it with a cracked windshield. I'll show you. Yo, shout out to Avance. There was a little star chip or a rock that hit here at one point, and the windshield just cracked this way and that way and runs almost all the way across the windshield. That's about 3/4 of the way, maybe a little less over, maybe 2/3 of the way over. And it was this way when I bought it. It was maybe to about halfway point when I got it in October, and then just driving around, parking outside for a few cold months, it continued all the way over and is starting to head down. All right, so here is the view from inside the cabin of this ridiculous crack. So I've got this wave right here in my line of sight, and it's pretty crazy because when I'm driving the car, I'm not looking at the crack obviously, but I'm looking through it, and the line kind of splits in my vision and creates this like circle, and it's almost like it's like a crosshair or target of where I'm driving, and it's not fun to drive with. So I'm finally tired of driving around with it and gonna get that crack out of here. So one thing I was a little bashful of wanting to film Mark during his work in process. So it was about, once he got the windshield out and I saw the windshield laying here, I started asking him, I was like, hey, do you mind if I take pictures, take some video? I kind of want to document this process and learn a little bit about what you're doing. And so he was totally cool with it. So I did end up getting some shots, but after the glass was out. So let's flip around here real quick. All right, so when Mark started his work, he just walked in here and he pulled the trim up on each side of the windshield. And I thought what he was gonna do is flip these up, put them in the service position. But what he did was actually, I gotta open the door to open the hood. He actually took the wipers completely off, and I didn't, obviously I didn't know what was gonna happen. He ended up taking off all of this cowling piece. The wipers came all the way off, and I'll show you some video of what it looks like without that on. So everything is all nice, trim, fit, and finish right now because it's all back together. Yeah. Shout out to Badge Skins. It's pretty rad. So what was this other piece that you added on here? Was this part of the bracket for the...
Actually the rain sensor and moisture sensor and the headlight light sensor. If the car gets warm enough or right about the right temperature, the fan will shut down too much. And then you'll start to fog up the windshield. So people would have to shut it off and manually control it. That senses the moisture building up on the windshield, so it'll keep the fan going a little faster. to compensate so you don't have the windshield fog up. Another common problem on this body style car that all the way.
Yeah.
This is the tricky part in here. And it is very difficult to cut out.
Yeah.
It's kind of like cutting tire rubber.
You made it seem very simple.
Well,
all right, so here is a look-see now from the inside. You can't even tell that there's glass there except for this stuff up here. It is so clear. It is going to be the cleanest that this exterior surface is going to be forever. That's until I pull out on the road and start getting rock chips. There's no squiggle line across here. I'm gonna actually be able to see without having to like play around with the little crosshairs that was being developed while I was looking. So I am super stoked about this. Everything looks to be fit and finish very well. While the glass was out, he was, you know, cleaning up around the edges, but he also gave my dash a nice little wipe down, cleaned everything off. So thank you again, Mark. Appreciate it. So Mark was super cool, and he let me just hang out in the garage while he did the work. It took maybe an hour and a half. Could have been a lot faster, but I talked and learned about how to replace a windshield. Within 10 minutes, he had the entire windshield out and began process of cleaning around the trim to get out the glue. So I learned a bunch from him just chatting, and he is a top-notch guy. We're standing here, or I was standing here talking, and he is doing his job, doing the work, and he brings out a vacuum. I was like, oh, cool, you know, maybe he's going to clean up around some of the edges of the trim work he was doing. No, he started vacuuming out my car while I was standing here. I was like, man, you don't have to do that. He's like, oh, well, you know, I have to let the primer dry before I put the glue down. And I thought that was pretty amazing to just be standing here, and that's just part of the service that he provides. He just cleans a little bit while he's waiting for stuff to dry. So one of the things that he was telling me is that obviously a key to replacing a windshield is to remove all that caulking, beading material that is holding the windshield in place. He said that there's some shops that use the OE material, there's some shops that use a more forgivable, more flexible material, which he doesn't use. And then there's some shops that just lay the new material over the old material. So he had an example of that where you could actually see the double thickness and the separation between the two different materials. So that obviously doesn't help it fit better. And using the OE and getting it totally cleaned off, scraping all of that off, which is very much a skill. I watched him cut all that off smoothly and almost down to the finish on the car, and it was incredible. So I've got the driver assistance package and the rain sensing wipers. Kind of hard to see. Here we go. So this top part where the triangular area is the camera, and the lower section is the rain sensing wiper sensor. I think he said that there was even 3 different sensors in this area just for the rain sensing wipers.
Rain sensor and moisture sensor and headlight light sensor. All in one.
Oh, and there's also a little, I don't know if we can see it, there's a little white speck that is a light sensor for oncoming headlights, I think for the automatic high beams. And so we talked in length about the sensors and the recalibration of those sensors, and that it's something that Volkswagen definitely recommends doing. I'm gonna drive the car, see how it goes. I called the Volkswagen service line and asked them what it would cost to do that calibration, and it was about $800 just for that calibration. And so I'm gonna see how the car drives. He said that he had another local Golf R client that he was talking to that actually writes code for autonomous vehicles, and he said that it was pretty silly if you get the OE glass, get everything back in place, you know, all of these sensors already have these mounts pre-attached to the glass from Volkswagen. He said, even if you're off a degree, which, you know, everybody says, oh, you're off a degree, you know, 50 feet out, that's a big difference. He said, if you're off a degree, like, there's no road that's straight. It's not, you know, the system is going to adapt to it. And so hopefully that's the case. He said, now if you're off 30 degrees, which I don't know how you could be with the glass, and unless you just totally like, just crank it over. He said that could cause an issue. Or if there's a ripple in the glass, or, you know, some chips right over the sensors, that could cause an issue. So I'm gonna roll the dice. I'm gonna see how the car drives with the non-recalibrated sensors and hopefully give some feedback on that. So as we're talking about the glass that is on these cars, he was describing about how there's obviously the curvature that goes back and forth over the car. But with these windshields, he also said that there's a curvature going up and down, which I never really noticed, but, you know, looking at the A-pillar, you can see that there's a slight bend there. So he said, you know, the aftermarket glass sometimes will not have that curvature, and is one reason that it can cause fitment issues. He also said that down in this area, some installers will install it too tight, where there's some, in addition to the vents you can see here, there's some little hole vents that are along the plastic there that if you have it too tight, it pinches and it can cause some fogging issues. And so people are thinking that maybe there's a leak or some moisture stuck down in there, when really it's not venting properly because it wasn't installed properly. All right, and if I haven't said it already, the cost to replace this windshield with Mark, this is the OE glass from Volkswagen. It was $604, I think it was, plus tax. So it was like $665 total, I think. So I'm pretty happy with it. I'll end up running it through my insurance, and hopefully they'll pay for it. We'll see. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in today. Hope you like what you see, and if you do, give us a thumbs up. Maybe leave a comment, subscribe. We'll see you in the next one. Cheers.